ओम श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम गोपिका जीवन स्मरणं गोविंदा गोविंदा सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतम् अपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरह कातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। यस्मानुभावमखिल श्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपम् अतितितीर्षतां तमोन्धं संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुम् उपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां। योगीन्द्राय नमस्तस्मै शुकाय ब्रह्मरूपिणे संसारसर्पदष्टं यो विष्णुरातममुमुचत् कालव्यालमुखग्रास त्रासनिर्नाशहेतवे श्रीमद्भागवतं शास्त्रं कलौकीरेण भाषितम् एतस्मादपरं किञ्चित् मनःशुद्धै न विद्यते जन्मान्तरे भवेत् पुण्यं तथा भागवतं लभेत् ज्ञानवैराग्यसम्पूर्णान् हरिभक्तिपरायणान् पूर्वाचार्यात् वन्दे सम्प्रदायप्रवर्तकान् भगवन्नाम साम्राज्य लक्ष्मी सर्वस्व विग्रहं श्रीमद्बोधेन्द्र योगीन्द्र देशिकेन्द्रम् उपास्महे। कलिकालोचितं धर्मं नाम संकीर्तनात्मकं निर्णेतुम् अवतीर्णं तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। हरे रामेति कृष्णेति नाम संकीर्तनं सदा लोकक्षेमाय कुर्वन्तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयात् इतरतश्चार्तेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदम् तापत्रयोन्मूलनम् श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषिभिस्तत्क्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीमद्भागवताख्योऽयं प्रत्यक्षः कृष्ण एव हि स्वीकृतोऽसि मया नाथ मुख्यत्वं भवसागरे मनोरथो मदीयोऽयं सफलः सर्वदा त्वया निर्विघ्नेनैव कर्तव्यो दासोऽहं तव केशव। श्रीहरे नमः श्रीहरे नमः श्रीहरे नमः। गोपिका जीवन स्मरणं गोविंदा गोविंदा सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so from 32, we have to do from stanza 31. So I think there are totally 42 stanzas. You can do 21 each. Let me see who I had. Madhu, can you do one? And Revati, you can do one half.
हरे नमः इत्येतत् कथितं पूर्वी ज्ञानं तत् ब्रह्मदर्शनं येनानुबुध्यते तत्त्वं प्रकृते पुरुषस्य च ज्ञानयोगष्टमन्निष्टो नैर्गुण्यो भक्तिलक्षणः त्वयोरप्येक एवार्धो भगवच्छब्दलक्षणः यदीन्द्रियैः पृथक् द्वारैः अर्थो बहुगुणाश्रयः एको नानेयदे तत्त्वत् भगवान् शास्त्रवत्मभिः क्रियया कर्तुभिर्दानैः तपस्वाध्यायमर्शनैः आत्मेन्द्रियजयेनापि सन्न्यासेन च कर्मणां योगेन विविताङ्गेन भक्तियोगेन चैव हि धर्मेणोभयसिज्ञेन यः प्रवृत्तिनिवृत्तिमान् आत्मतत्त्वावबोधेन वैराग्येन दृढेन च ईयते भगवान् येभिः सगुणो निर्गुणः स्वदृक् प्रावोचं भक्तियोगस्य स्वरूपं ते चतुर्विधं कालस्य चाव्यक्तगतेः योऽन्तर्धावति जन्तुषु जीवस्य संस्मृतिर्भग्भिः अविद्या कर्म निर्मिताः या स्वङ्गप्रविशन् आत्मा न वेद गतिमात्मनः
Madhu, on the first line, second word, samsritir.
Oh yeah, correct. Jivasya samsritir bhakti. Okay. नैदत् कलायोपदिशेत् नाविनीदाय गर्गिचित् न स्तब्धाय न भिन्नाय नैव धर्मध्वजाय च न लोलुभायोपदिशेत् न गृहारूढचेतसे न भक्ताय च मे जातु न मद्भक्तद्विषाम् अपि श्रद्धदानाय भक्ताय विनीतायानसूयवे भूतेषु कृतमैत्राय शुश्रूषाभिरदाय च भगिर्जातविरागाय शान्तसिद्धाय दीयतां निर्मत्सराय शुषये यस्यागं प्रेयसां प्रियः य इदं शृणुयादम्ब श्रद्धया पुरुषः सकृत् यो वाभिदत्ते मच्चित्तः सघेति पदवीं च मे। इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां तृतीयस्कन्धे कापिलेये द्वात्रिंशोऽध्यायः।
You do up to eight stanzas.
Okay, त्रयस्त्रिंशोऽध्यायः। मैत्रेय उवाच एवं निशम्य कपिलस्य वचो जनित्री सा कर्तमस्य दयिता किल देवहूतिः विश्रस्तमोघपटलादमभिप्रणम्य दुष्टावतत्त्वविषयाङ्गितसिद्धिभूमिं देवहूतिरुवाच अदाप्यजोन्दसलिले शयानं भूतेन्द्रियार्थात्ममयं बभुस्ते गुणप्रवागं सदशेषबीजं दत्यौ स्वयं यज्जडराब्जजातः स एव विश्वस्य भवान् विदत्ते गुणप्रवाहेन विभक्तवीर्यः सर्गात्यनीको वितदाभिसन्धिः आत्मेश्वरो दर्ग्यसहस्रशक्तिः सत्वं भृतो मे जडरेण नाद कथं तु यस्योदरयेदतासीत् विश्वं युगान्ते वडपत्र एकः शेदे स्म माया शिशुषुरङ्घ्रिपाणः त्वं ते दन्त्रप्रशमाय पाप्मनां निदेशपाजां च विभो विबूधये यत् आवदारस्तव शूकरातयः तदायमभ्यात्मपदोपलब्धये यन्नामधेयश्रवणानुकीर्तनात् यत्प्रग्वणातु यत्स्मरणादपि क्वचित् स्वात्तोऽपि सत्यः सवनाय कल्पते कुतः पुनस्ते भगवन्नुदर्शनात् स्वपचोतो करीयान् यज्जिह्वाग्रे वर्तते नामदुभ्यं ते भुस्तभस्ते जुगुवुः ब्रह्माणुचुर्नाम गृह्णन्ति ये ते तं त्वामहं ब्रह्म परं पुमांसं प्रत्यक्स्रोतस्यात्मनि संविभाव्यं स्वेदेजसा त्वस्तगुणप्रभावेन गुणप्रवाहं वन्दे विष्णुं कपिलं वेदकर्पं मैत्रेय.
You can stop there. The second line, first word mattum swa tejasa.
Okay. स्वतेजसा त्वस्तगुणप्रवाहं वन्दे विष्णुं कपिलं वेदकर्पं. Thanks.
मैत्रेय उवाच ईडितो भगवान् एवं कपिलाख्यः परः पुमान् वासा विग्लवयेत्याह मातरं मातृवत्सलः. कपिल उवाच मार्गेण नेन मातस्ते सुषेव्ये नोदितेन मे आस्तितेन परां काष्ठाम् अचिरात् अवरोत्स्यसि. श्रद्धस्वैतन्मतं मह्यं जुष्टं यद् ब्रह्मवादिभिः येन माम् अपयं याया मृत्युं रुच्यन्त्य तद्विदः.
Second line yena mam abhavam.
Oh, abhavam. Okay. येन माम् अभवं याया मृत्युं रुच्यन्त्य तद्विदः.
Yayaha. If you pause there, the visarga comes there. Okay, yayaha.
Okay. இப்ப பாஸ் பண்ணாம ஃபுல்லா சொல்லாமா?
Then it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. इति प्रदर्श्य भगवान् सतीं ताम् आत्मनो गतिं स्वमात्रा ब्रह्मवादिन्या कपिलोऽनुमतो ययौ. सा चापि धनयोक्तेन योगो देशेन योगयुक् तस्मिन् आश्रम आपीडे सरस्वत्या समाहिता.
First line yoga deshena.
योगा देशेन, right?
Yeah. Ashrama, the second line, the first word.
तस्मिन् आश्रम आपीडे सरस्वत्या समाहिता अभीक्ष्णावकाः कबिशान् जडिलान् कुटिलाकान् आत्मानं शोक्रतपसा बिभ्रति शीरिणं कृशम्.
And the first line last word kutilalakan.
Where did I see that? Jadila kutilalakan.
Yeah, correct.
आत्मानं चोक्रतपसा बिभ्रति शीरिणं गृशं प्रजापतेः कर्तमस्य तपो योग विसृम्बितं स्वकारहस्त्यम् अनौपम्यं प्रार्थ्यं वैमानिकैरपि वैयप्पेन निबासय्या तान्ता रुक्मपरिच्छदाः आसनानि च हैमानि सुस्पर्शास्तरणानि च.
Same thing in the first line, shayyaha. So if you're seeing it together, like for example, it will become payaffena nibhashayya danta rukma parichadaha. That's okay, right? But if you're pausing there, then it becomes shayyaha. First line.
Shayyaha. Okay, இங்கேயும் என்னோட புக்ல நான் அந்த இது
இல்ல புக்ல இல்ல because book assumes you're going to read through the entire line. Right?
Okay. स्वच्छस्फटिककुट्येषु महामारहदेषु च रत्नप्रदीपा आपन्ति ललना रत्नसंयुताः गृहोद्यानं कुसुमितै रम्यं बह्वमरद्रुमैः कूजद्विहङ्कमिथुनं कायन्मत्तमधुव्रतम्.
Indian, the first line mitaihi, okay, in case you're passing.
Okay. गृहोद्यानं कुसुमितैः. Okay. यत्र प्रविष्टमात्मानं विबुधानुचरा जहुः वाभ्यामुत्पलगन्धिन्यां कर्तमेनोपलालितं हित्वा ततीप्सिततमम् अभ्याकण्डलयूषितां किञ्चिच्चहारवदनं पुत्रविश्लेक्षणादुरा वनं प्रवृजिते पत्यौ अभत्यविरहादुरा ज्ञाततत्त्वाभि अभून्नष्टे वत्से गौरिव वत्सला.
Again, and the api and a, generally you don't split it. You have to say it together. So the second line I'm saying. So jnata tattvapya bhunnashte.
ज्ञातत्वाप्यप्यून्नष्टे वत्सले गौरिव वत्सला तमेव ध्यायति देवम् अपत्यं कपिलं हरिं बभूवा चिरतो वत्स निःसबृहा दादृशे गृहे ध्यायति भगवद्रूपं यदा ध्यानकोशरं सुतप्रसन्नवदनं समस्तौ यस्तचिन्त्या भक्तिप्रवागयोगेन वैराग्येन बलीयसा युक्तानुष्ठानजातेन ज्ञानेन ब्रह्महेतुना विशुद्धेन तदात्मनम् आत्माना विश्वतो मुखं स्वानुभूत्या तिरोभूत माया गुणविशेषणं
Sorry,
ब्रह्मणि
first line ஒரு second. Tadat manam, that is a sound. Then the next word also is atmana. So just say the first line.
तदात्मानम् आत्मना.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
ब्रह्मणि अवस्थितमतिः भगवत्यात्मसंश्रये निवृत्तजीवापत्तित्वात् क्षीणक्लेशाप्तनिवृत्तिः
Again, the first line, sorry. Brahmani avasthiti. It's Brahmanya avasthita. You know,
Okay.
joined.
So Brahmani avasthitan சொல்ல வேண்டாம்.
Gender, that's not the general rule, right? It's like saying they and are. It's not the right way of writing in English, right? We'll say there, right?
So Brahmani vasthit அப்படியா?
Brahmanya avasthita.
Okay. ब्रह्मण्यवस्थितमतिः भगवत्यात्मसंश्रये निवृत्तजीवापत्तित्वात् क्षीणक्लेशाप्तनिवृत्तिः नित्यारूढसमाधित्वात् परावृत्तगुणप्रमा न सस्मार तदात्मनं स्वप्ने दृष्टं इवोत्थितः.
Tadatmanam, second line. Tadatmanam.
தத் ஆத்மானம் சொல்லக்கூடாது.
That's okay, but I think you didn't say the man. I think you said manam. I think that's
tadat. Atmanam swapte drishtam yivottitah tat deha pradaposhapi agrushas-chatya sambhavat pabau malairavatchannah stuma iva bhavah swangam tabo.
Sorry, sadhuma iva bhavah. Last line, second half. Sadhuma iva bhavah.
Sadhuma. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 29 சொல்லணுமா இது நீங்க முடிச்சாச்சா?
30 வரைக்கும் முடிச்சோம்.
Okay. Swangam tapo yogamayam muktakesham katambaram daivaguptam na bubude vasudeva pravishtatihi evam sa kapiloktena margena chiratah param atmanam brahma nirvanam bhagavantam avabaha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll continue. So I think I did say most of the meaning of 33, but I think I just thought today we'll take 5 minutes, right, just to kind of summarize what we saw in Kapilopakyanam, including the Kapilopadesham, right? So it was kind of 13 chapters we saw all the way from 3.21 to 3.33, right? It was 13 chapters worth of it, which in Narayanam was covered in 2 chapters, right? 14 and 15. So it again, just to recap, right, for those who might have lost that
question. Sorry, Rajesh, I know asking too much. Thanks on the PDF lineage amchelia. But I just wanted to know, first, the whole thing starts with Sutta Pauranika saying it to all the Sanaka Rishis. Last week on the class, like how is it handed over? Like before the whole conversation reaches Parikshit, who are all the Rishis like in that order?
So on the Sutta Pauranika, in the between the Saunaka rishis, and Saunaka rishi is one of the leading rishis among the thousands of rishis who are gathered in Naimisharanya, and Sutta Pauranika is telling them the story to those rishis. Now Sutta Pauranika was in the story time when Shuka Brahman was telling it to Parikshit. So he was in attendance at that time. So he's heard it from Shuka Brahman. Shuka Brahman got the knowledge from Vyasa. Vyasa got the knowledge from Narada. Narada got the knowledge from Brahma, and then Brahma got it from the original Narayana. That is kind of that lineage of story, right? Now, while Shuka Brahman is telling the story to Parikshit, in between in that story, so the master thread is that Naimisharanya story going on. So ignore that, because very rarely does it come in between, right? It's the master thread. But even while Shuka Brahman is telling it to Parikshit, he's talking about Maitreya telling it to Vidura in between, where those connections. But Maitreya heard it from Krishna when Maitreya and Uddhava met Krishna at the time of Krishna's departure.
Oh, okay.
So Maitreya, so when Shuka Brahman has the knowledge, He's talking of the conversation because he doesn't have to repeat the whole thing. He's saying that conversation has already happened between Maitreya and Vidura. So he's just repeating that conversation which has happened from Maitreya and Vidura, which is everything we saw in the third skandam. Okay. Because third skandam beginning and the Uddhava and the Maitreya conversation with Krishna is happening and Krishna is departing. That is happening, right? So Upper Krishna is departing the knowledge to Maitreya at the Samaya. And Maitreya is telling it to Vidura. So Shukabram is saying, hey, this is what happened. And then that's why some of those things about Virat Purusha and Brahma and all repeats again, because Shukabramam had already told that to Parikshit. But then he was also telling it in the... Anyway, so on the sequence, so now we are in the lowermost loop that we are in right now is between Maitreya and Vidura. That's the inner loop that we are in. Next, more people are going to come. Then there's going to be a Narada, Yudhishthira Samvadam and all multiple threads are going to go. But right now, that's where we are.
Okay.
Does it answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. But it kind of goes in and out. So it's very difficult to say. But right now, you're all in Maitreya and Vidura conversation. That is a conversation that's going on pretty much. Outer loop of that is what Shukha Brahmam is telling Parikshit. Adhika outer loop is what the Shaunaka Rishi conversation is going on. Sutta Pauranika.
So Rajesh, the Maitreya Vidura conversation, is it full Bhagavatam or just portions, right?
Yeah, it's just portions.
Okay. So the full Bhagavatam is only between Shukha Brahmam and Parikshit, and then Shaunaka, Sutta Pauranika and Shaunaka, right?
Correct. Exactly. Yes. But remember that Shukha Brahmam himself got introduced only at the end of Canto 1.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like he was introduced only in the last chapter of Canto 1. So before that, they were talking about the pre-stuff to that conversation, right? Anyway, so in this Kapilopadesham, right, the 13 chapters, just to kind of do a quick recap, right? It first started with Kardama Prajapati, who actually does a 10,000-year penance, right, to see Bhagavan. And then Bhagavan comes on Garuda. That's where we talked about how he was standing on Garuda and gave him the darshan. And then he says, you have to marry Swayambhu Manu's daughter Devahuti, who is the right match for you. And then he himself will come. So Swayambhu Manu comes. And then we saw how he laid out the case for why, Kardama has to marry Devahuti. So they both get married. But then Kardama immediately goes into all of the penance, and Devahuti is constantly taking care of him for several years to the point that her body itself is all worn out. And then when Kardama realizes that, then Devahuti says, remember, you are a Prajapati, you still have to create, right? But she says, I am not ready for it. The environment is not ready for it. Kardama then creates an aerial palace. He then literally gives Devahuti a new body. And then they all spend about hundreds of years traveling all over the space. And then Kardama then splits himself into 9 personalities. And then he gives to Devahuti 9 girl children. And then once the 9 girl children came, then he was ready to leave. Then Devahuti reminded him, remember that I don't have anybody to support me. And then he also remembers the conversation that Bhagavan said, I'm going to be born as Kapila. So and then to Devahuti and Kardama, Kapila is born. And then when Kapila is born, and then he's ready to, when Kardama is ready to leave, then Devahuti suddenly remembers saying that, okay, you have got all the knowledge, you have got all the punyam, you are going to get liberated. What am I going to do? Because I've been just serving you. So how do I get liberated? So at that time, Brahma comes, and Brahma also reminds her, saying that, don't worry, Kapila is there. He's going to liberate you. Your son is going to liberate you. And then Devahuti then asks some basic questions of, who am I? Why am I here? Why am I experiencing happiness, sorrow? How am I getting trapped into this material world? How do I get out of this? She asks a whole bunch of questions, to which Kapila then starts the Kapilopakyanam. And first, he initially starts with how attachment to anything causes bondage. And it's very easy for the mind. You have to only blame your mind and nothing else. That's the one, not your senses. It's your mind which is attaching you to stuff. And only by pure devotion, you can remove that. That's how he starts. Then he teaches all the scientific knowledge behind Prakriti and Purusha, and how from that everything is coming from the Prakriti side of thing, and the Purusha is independent of everything that is happening on the Prakriti side. From there, the Tanmatram, Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, all of that. Then he talks a lot about the soul itself, right? Saying how the soul is actually not bound by any of these things, but it imagines that it is actually bound to the mind, it is bound to the body, it is bound to all of this because it thinks it is it, right? And he says the only way to liberate the soul is the simplest way is through all the chanting and devotion, constant hearing of all of these things. And then he goes into how the process of bhakti yoga, of how to do it through Ashtanga yoga. So while Ashtanga yoga is the process, but in this case, he's embedding bhakti yoga into Ashtanga yoga to say how you follow the steps of Ashtanga yoga and you can get to a state of samadhi. But in that process, you are also having devotion in it. So devotion cannot be separated from it. And then when she asks about the cycle of birth and death, and that's when he talks about the how even devotion, has different kinds of devotions, right? You could still be devoted, but you could have sattvika devotion, tamasic devotion, and rajas devotion. But beyond all of this is a devotion which is unconstrained without expecting anything in return, because no matter what other devotion you do, you are still building up karma. And then he talked about how the soul gets trapped into it and what happens in old age when it dies, and what happens when it leaves the body and it goes through that path of committing sins. And then it talks about how the soul then enters into the body and how it goes through that process of realizations. He kind of talked through that whole thing. And then he said about, the previous chapter, he talked about the how various grihasthas, all the things we are doing right in terms of pitru karyam and all the other religious activities, everything, depending on what you want to do it for, what the next step for you is. It all builds good karma, but you still all have a next step and you'll eventually be born into it. And the only way is to not get attached to anything in return. And then in the last chapter, this was kind of how when Kapila Muni leaves to northeast, he goes northeast, and Devahuti, then through a combination of Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, because she's renouncing everything. She doesn't want anything. She doesn't get attached to anything. All the palaces and everything she has zero attachments. She doesn't want anything in return. So she's in the true path of Karma Yoga. She also knows all the information with Jnana Yoga because Kapila himself has transferred that knowledge. And she also does Ashtanga Yoga with Bhakti Yoga embedded in all of it. Essentially, she's a classic example of incorporating all of the types of yoga. Yoga, just root word is yuj, which is union. So all of these paths leads to union. So with all of this, then Devahuti gets liberated, right? So that is kind of the end of how this Kapilopakyanam is coming.
Yeah, you see, sorry, one more question. So in the last class, you mentioned that Kapila Muni is still somewhere in the Himalayas, right?
We don't know where, but it just said because remember, she's Devahuti is somewhere in where Saraswati River is meeting the ocean. So she's somewhere in that Rajasthan, Pakistan, Gujarat. I don't know exactly, like some that area, right? And then it just said that he goes northeast.
Okay. So in some story, I don't remember if this was from Narayanam or I heard somewhere else, that when the Sagara's son went to Padalam or
In
somewhere,
Ramayana it comes.
Yeah, they met Kapila Muni, right?
Yeah, the Sagara son, they do the Ashwamedha Yajna, and at that time they end up going and they end up reaching this ashramam of Kapila Muni, and somebody ties their horse there, and then they think Kapila Muni stole the horse, but he's in a state of trance, and then when he's woken up, then they get burnt. So that story comes in Ramayanam. But I think at that point, is Ramayana again happened such a long time back too. But at that time, it was somewhere in the Badarikashrama, that region.
Okay. I somehow had in my mind it was somewhere in Padalam.
No. It was in the Badarikashrama region, that region.
Rajesh, that is attributed to California's name also. That's what Perivar told once. Still there is a thing called Ash Mountain. And
in South America, right?
Yeah, that's they say California name has come from Kapila.
So because Kapila, remember, he was during the period of Swayambhuva Manu, which was thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. We don't know how the geographical formation of the earth was at that time, right? So for all you know, right, we don't know on the continents if they split. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, but yeah.
I think Mahapariva has said somewhere, I read about that, California is actually Kapilaranya, and the Ashwa Dvipam, that is Ash Island somewhere around there, is where the Sagaras, yeah, that were all burnt. So, I read
because, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
I think in most of this, both in Bhagavatam, because Narayanam is taken from Bhagavatam, both of this, it says he goes northeast, because if you see stanza 33, it says Smataram Samanojñapya Pragudichim disham yayo. So it just says he went in the northeast direction, but it doesn't say where he landed. So for all you know, he could have continued and gone to any place, right? Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So today, let's see who's Anandji. You can be a student, and it's Priya Arun on today, or no, I don't see her. I think she's in India. Okay. Vijaya, are you on?
I'm here.
Okay. So Anandji, you and Vijaya, you can be student. Okay. So stanza 31. Tat virasit punya tamam, kshetram trailokya vishrutam, namna siddha padam yatra, sa samsiddhim upeyushi. Tad virasit punya tamam, kshetram trailokya vishrutam, namna siddha padam yatra, sa samsiddhim upeyushi.
तद्वीरासीत् पुण्यतमं क्षेत्रं त्रैलोक्यविश्रुतं नाम्ना सिद्धपदं यत्र सा संसिद्धिम् उभेयुषी.
तद्वीरासीत् पुण्यतमं क्षेत्रं त्रैलोक्यविश्रुतं नाम्ना सिद्धपदं यत्र सा संसिद्धिम् उपेयुषी.
Tasyas tadyoga vidutha, put a plus, martyam abhut sarite, do that lines together, srotasam pravara saumya, siddhida siddha sevita. Tasyas tadyoga vidutha martyam abhut sarite, srotasam pravara saumya, siddhida siddha sevita.
तस्यास्तद्योग विदुत मार्त्यं मर्त्यमभूत् सरीद स्रोतसां प्रवरा सौम्या सिद्धिदा सिद्ध सेविता.
तस्यास्तद्योगविदुतमार्त्यं मर्त्यम् अभूत्सरेत् स्रोतसां प्रवरा सौम्य सिद्धिता सिद्ध सेविता.
Kapilopi Mahayogi, Bhagavan Piturashramat, Mataram Samanugnyapya, Pragudichim Disham Yayau. Kapilopi Mahayogi, Bhagavan Piturashramat, Mataram Samanugnyapya, Pragudichim Disham Yayau.
कपिलो विमहायोगी भगवान् पितुराश्रमात् मातरं समनज्ञाप्य प्रागुदीचीं दिशं ययो.
कपिलोऽपि महायोगी भगवान् पितुराश्रमात् मातरं समनुज्ञाप्य प्राकुतीसीं दिशं ययौ.
Siddha Charana Gandharvaihi, put a visarga comma. Next, on that mu, there is a ir that goes away. Munibhish chapsaroganaihi stuyamanas samudrena, dattarhana niketanaha. Siddhacharana gandharvaihi munibhish chapsaroganaihi stuyamanas samudrena dattarhana niketanaha.
सिद्धचारणगन्धर्वैः मुनिभिश्चाप्सरोगणैः स्तूयमानसमुद्रेण दत्तार्हणनिकेतनः.
सिद्धचारणगन्धर्वैः मुनिभिश्चाप्सरोगणैः स्तूयमानसमुद्रेण दत्तार्हणनिकेतनः.
Aste yogam samasthaya, sankhyacharyayir sankhyacharyayir abhishtutah trayanamapi lokanam im, upashantyai samahitah. Aste yogam samasthaya sankhyacharyayir abhishtutah trayanamapi lokanam upashantyai samahitah.
आस्ते योगं समास्ताय साङ्ख्यचार्यैरभिष्टुतः त्रयाणामपि लोकानाम् उपशान्ते समाहितः.
आस्ते योगं समास्ताय साङ्ख्याचार्यैरभिष्टुतः त्रयाणाम् अपि लोकानाम् उपशान्त्यै समाहितः
एतन् निगदितं तात यत् पृष्टोऽहं तवानघ कपिलस्य च संवादो देवहूत्याश्च पावनः एतन्निगदितं तात यत् पृष्टोऽहं तवानघ कपिलस्य च संवादो देवहूत्याश्च पावनः
एतन्निगदितं तात यत्पृष्टोऽहं तवानघ कपिलस्य च संवादो देवहूत्याश्च पावनः
निकथितं तात यत् पृष्टोऽहं तवानः कपिलस्य च संवादो देवहूत्याश्च भावनः
य इदम् अनुशृणोति योऽभिधत्ते कपिल मुनेर्मतम् आत्म योग गुह्यम् भगवति कृतधीस् supern ketau. So the keta and va that is there, which is going to make it ketau, then the vu goes away, it becomes a u there. Upalabate bhagavat padara bindam. Final one palastuti, saying that this description of this conversation that happened between Kapila and his mother Devahuti, anyone who hears it, reads it, etc., with a pure attention or devotion, will eventually get liberated and be in the service of the Lord. Bhagavat Padaramindam will reach the feet of the Lord. Yaidam manushrunoti yobhidatte kapila muner matamatma yoga guhyam bhagavati kritadhi suparna ketau upalabhate bhagavat padarabindham.
इदमनुसृणोति योऽभिधत्ते कपिलमुनिर्मदमात्मयोगगुह्यं भगवति कृतधि सुपर्णकेतो उपलभते भगवत्पदारविन्दम्
य इदमनुशृणोति योऽपि तत्ते योऽभितत्ते कपिलमुनेर्मदामात्मयोगगुह्यं भगवती कृदती सुपर्णकेतौ उपलभते भगवत्पदारविन्दम्.
First word, idam anushrunoti.
இதம் அனு ஓகே ஓகே அது அந்த இம்மும் ஆவும் சேர்க்க வேணாமா இதம் அனு ஸ்ரூன் அப்படி
You
வேணாம்
can say it together, but it's easy if you break it, it just will land properly also for you. Idam anushrunoti.
ஓகே இதம் அனுஸ்ருணோதி ஓகே தேங்க்யூ
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे वैयासिक्याम् अष्टादशसाहस्र्यां पारमहंस्यां संहितायां तृतीयस्कन्धे कापिनेयोपाख्याने त्रयस्त्रिंशोऽध्यायः.
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे वैयासिक्याम् अष्टादश साहस्र्यां पारमहंस्यां संहितायां तृतीयस्कन्धे त्रयस्त्रिशंसु कापिलोयोपाख्याने
त्रयस्त्रिंशोऽध्यायः.
श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे वैयासिक्यामष्टा
The Vaiyasikyam, break it at that ma. Vaiyasikyam.
अष्टात ओके वैयासिक्याम् अष्टात साहस्र्यां पारमहंस्यां संहितायां तृतीयस्कन्धे कापिलेयोपाख्याने त्रयस्त्रिंशोऽध्यायः.
And the Vaiyasikyam Ashtadasha Sahasryam that comes at the end of every canto, saying this is the one which is written by Vyasa. That's why it's Vaiyasikyam, one that is written by Vyasa. Ashtadasha Sahasryam, having 18,000 verses. In that, the third canto is complete. So, iti Tritiya Skandha Samartaha. Okay, so we'll go to the fourth canto. So just a quick 1 minute of what's in fourth canto, but there's nothing much of meaning in the chapter one. That's why I sent that summary. So the fourth canto, like it goes to one of the questions that, Parikshit and everybody asked was around the lineage, right, of all the people who are there. And the lineage of the people is important because all the people who are going to, which are mentioned there, are going to come later on. So you can't wonder who is Durvasa, who is all of these people. You should know who they are, because that's what it's getting. The lineage is described. Chitraketu will come later. So that is Chitraketu. We'll know who is Chitraketu in this chapter, right? So it's talking about the lineage of it. So it's a few chapters. The first chapter is devoted essentially to the description of the lineage of Swayambhuva Manu and the Sapta Rishis. Then the 6 chapters in this, next 6 chapters are devoted to the Daksha Yajnam, and then what happens to Sati and Shiva. So that is the next 6 chapters. Then 5 chapters, it starts now going into each of the children of Swayambhu Manu. We saw what happened to Devahuti, right? Which was the Kapilopakyanam. Then we'll see what happens to Uttanapada, who's one of the son. That's where Dhruva Charitram is going to come. Anga, Vena, all of that is going to come in the Dhruva Charitram, in the lineage of Uttanapada. Then Priyavrata is going to come. Such a Prithu Charitram and all of that is going to come. And then there's Puranjana Charitram and Prachetas, the story about the Prachetas. So those are all the stories which are in the 4th canto. So 4th canto doesn't have much philosophy. It is all just people and all the charitrams of the various people who are there. Okay, so Pratamodhyayah Maitreyo Vacha Manostu Shatarupayam, Tisra Kanyascha Jagnire Akutir Devahutischa, Prasutiriti Vishrutaha. Maitreyo Vacha Manostu Shatarupayam Tisra Kanyascha Jagnire Akutir Devahutischa, Prasutiriti Vishrutaha.
Maitreya Uvacha Manostu Shatarupaya Tisra Kanyascha Jajnire Agudir Devahudischa Prasudiriti Visrutaha.
Maitreya Uvacha Manostu Shadarupayam Tishrastanyascha
Jagnire
Jagchire Akurdevahutischa Brashudir Idi Vishrutaha.
Second line, Akutir Devahutischa.
Okay, Akutir Devahutischa. Okay, Prashudir Idi Vishrutaya.
Vishrutaha. Akutim Ruchaye Pradat. So the da that is there, we're breaking it it and a Pradat, Api Bhratru Matin Nripaha Putrika Dharmamashritya, Shatarupanu Akutim Ruchaye Pradat Api Bhratru Matin Nripaha Putrika Dharmamashritya, Shatarupanu
Agudim Ruje Pradad Abhibhratya Madim Nrapaha Putriga Dharmamasritya Shatarupānumodidaha.
Akutim Ruchaye Pradat Pratru Madim Drupaha Putrika Dharmam Ashritya Shadarupanu Moditaha.
Prajapatis sa Bhagavan, Ruchis Tasyam Ajijanat. I'm just breaking it that ma. Tasyam Ajijanat. Mitunam Brahma Varchasvi, Paramena Samadhina. Prajapatis sa Bhagavan Ruchis Tasyam Ajijanat. Mitunam Brahma Varchasvi Paramena Samadhina.
Prajapadisa Bhagavan Rujustasya Janad Midhunam Brahma Varchasvi Paramena Samadhina.
Prajapatis Bhagavan Ruchistasyam Janat Midunam Brahma Varchasvi Paramena Samadhina.
Yastayof Purushas Sakshat. So the dvi that you have there, put it Sakshat, Next word will start with the V. Vishnur Yajna Swarupadrika. Ya Stri Sa Dakshina Bhutehe. So the ram that is there, we first remove that off, put a visarga, Bhutehe. Next word will start with the Amsha Bhutana Payini. यस्तयो पुरुषः साक्षात् विष्णुर्यज्ञस्वरूपधृक् या स्त्री सा दक्षिणा भूतेः अंशभूतानपायिनी।
यस्तयो पुरुषः साक्षात् विष्णुर्यज्ञस्वरूपधृक् या स्त्री सा दक्षिणा भूतेः अंशो भूतानपायिनी।
अंशभूतानपायिनी।
अंशभूतानपायिनी। Thank you.
यस्तयोः पुरुषः साक्षात् विष्णुर्यज्ञस्वरूपदृक् या श्रीशा दक्षिणाभूतेः अंशभूतानपायिनी।
आनिन्ये स्वगृहं पुत्र्याः पुत्रं वितत रोचिषं स्वायंभुवो मुदा युक्तो रुचिर्जग्राह दक्षिणाम्। आनिन्ये स्वगृहं पुत्र्याः पुत्रं वितत रोचिषं स्वायंभुवो मुदा युक्तो रुचिर्जग्राह दक्षिणाम्।
आनिने स्वगृहं पुत्र्याः पुत्रं विततरोजिषं स्वायंभुवो मुदो युक्तो रुचिर्जग्राह दक्षिणाम्।
आनिन्ये स्वगृहं पुत्र्याः पुत्रं वितत रोचिषं स्वायंभुवो मुधा युक्तो रुचिर्जग्राह दक्षिणाम्।
तां कामयानां भगवान् put in comma next word uvaha yajusham patihi tushtaayam toshamapanno and then put a plus, so toshamapanno janayat, that word will come together then, apanno janayat dvadashatmajan. So that second line is essentially continuous. Tam kamayanam bhagavan uvaha yajusham patihi तुष्टायां तोषमापन्नो जनयद्वादशात्मजान्।
तां कामयानां भगवान् उवाह यजुषां पतिः तुष्टायां दोषमापन्नो जनयद्वादशात्मजान्।
तां कामयानां भगवान् उवाह यजुषां पतिः तुष्टायां दोषमापन्नो जनयत् द्वादश आत्मजान्।
Yeah, dvadashatmajan can be one word.
Ashmajan.
It's a dvadasha atmajan.
Okay. Dvadasha atmajan.
Yeah, but you have to kind of say it together, so it becomes dvadashatmajan.
So dvadashatmajan. Okay.
Yeah. Toshaf pratoshas santosho, bhadrash shantir idaspatihi idmah kavir vibhus swannaha, so it's a half ha and a na, swannaha, sudevo rochano dvishate. Toshaf pratoshas santosho bhadrash shantir idaspatihi idmah kavir vibhus swannaha sudevo rochano dvishate.
तोषप्रदोषो सन्तोषो भद्रशान्तिरीडस्पतिः इत्मः कविर्विभुस्वर्णः सुदेवो रोचनो दिषट्।
दोषस्प्रदोष सन्तोषो भद्रशान्तिरिडस्पतिः इत्मः कविर्विभुस्वर्णः सुदेवो रोचनो द्विषत्.
Yeah, Dvishat. Okay, we'll just switch right now. Gomati Atte, you can be student, and Sudha, you can be student.
Okay.
Tushita Nama Te Devaha. So add a visarga because you're going to put a comma there. Te Devaha. Asan Swayambhuvantare Marichi Mishra Rishayo, Yajñas Sura Ganeshwaraha. Tushita namate devaha asan swayambhuvantare marichi mishra rishayo yajñas suraganeshwaraha.
Tushita namate devaha asan swayambhuvantare marichi mishra rishayo yajñas suraganeshwaraha.
तुषिता नाम ते देवाः आसन् स्वायम्भुवान्तरे मरीचिमिश्रा ऋषयो यज्ञः सुरगणेश्वरः
Priyavratottanapadau, but the word comes together. Priyavratottanapadau, Manuputrau Mahau Jasau, Tat Putra Pautra Naptrunam, breaking at that ma im Anuvrittam Tadantaram. Priyavratottanapadau, Manuputrau Mahau Jasau, Tat Putra Pautra Naptrunam, Anuvrittam Tadantaram.
प्रियव्रतोत्तानपादौ मनुपुत्रौ महौजसौ तत्पुत्रपौत्रनप्तॄणाम् अनुवृत्तं तदन्तरम्
प्रियवृत्तोत्थानपादौ मनुपुत्रौ महोजसौ तत्पुत्र पौत्र नत्तानाम् अनुवृत्तं तदन्तरम् नप्तॄणाम् अनुवृत्तं तदन्तरम्
Vyasam Vashishta Naptaram, right? So it's a great, and the great grandson, and the Naptruna means all the great grandchildren.
Okay.
Devahutim Adatata, Kardama Yatmajam Manuhu, Tat Sambandhi Shrutaprayam, Bhavata Gadato Mama. Devahutim Adatata, Kardama Yatmajam Manuhu, Tat Sambandhi Shrutaprayam, Bhavata Gadato Mama.
देवहूतिमदात् तात कर्दमायात्मजां मनुः यत्सम्बन्धि श्रुतप्रायं भवता गदतो मम.
The second line, first word, Tat Sambandhi.
Sambandhim okay.
Sorry. No, you said, I heard Yat Sambandhi. It's Tat Sambandhi, right?
Oh, Tat Sambandhi Shutaprayam Bhavata Gadato Mama.
देवहूतिम् अदात्तत् कर्दमायात्मजा मनुः तत्सम्बन्धि श्रुतप्रायं भवता गदतो मम.
First line, first word, Adat it Tata.
देवहूतिम् अदात्तात.
Dakshaya Brahma Putraya, Prasutim Bhagavan Manuhu, Prayachat Yat Kritas, if you want to break the dya. Prayachat Yat Kritas Sargaha, that is goes away, Visarga, Trilokyam Vitato Mahan. Dakshaya Brahma Putraya, Prasutim Bhagavan Manuhu, Prayachat Yat Kritas Sargaha, Trilokyam Vitato Mahan.
Dakshaya Brahmaputraya Prasutim Bhagavan Manuhu Prayachadyat Krita Sargaha Trilokyam Vitato Mahan.
Dakshaya Brahmaputraya Prasutim Bhagavan Manuhu Prayachadyat Krita Sargaha Trilokyam Vitato Mahan.
Ya Kardama Sutaf Proktaha. We add a visarga because we're putting a comma there. Proktaha. Nava Brahmarshi Patnayaha. Tasam Prasuti Prasavam, Prochyamanam Nibodame. Yah Kardama Sutaf Proktaha. Nava Brahmarshi Patnayaha. Tasam Prasuti Prasavam, Prochyamanam Nibodame.
Ya Kardama Sutaf Proktaha Nava Brahmarshi Patnayaha Tasam Prasuti Prasavam Prochyamanam Nibodhame.
Ya Kardama Sutah Proktaha Nava Brahmarshi Patnayaha Tasam Prasuti Prasavam Prochyamanam Nibodhame.
Patni Marichestu Kala, Sushuve Kardamatmaja, Kashyapam Purnimanam cha, Yayor Apuritam Jagate. Patni Marichestu Kala, Sushuve Kardamatmaja, Kashyapam Purnimanam cha, Yayor Apuritam Jagate.
Patni Marichestu Kala Sushuve Kardamatmaja Kashyapam Purnimanam cha Yayora Puritam Jagat.
पत्नी मरीचेस्तु कला सुषुवे कर्दमात्मजा कश्यपं पूर्णिमानं च ययोरापूरितं जगत्
पूर्णिमासूत विरजं विश्वगं च परं तप देवकुल्यां हरेः पाद प्लस शौचाद्याभूत, you can break the dya, शौचाद्याभूत सरिद्दिवः. Second line continues. पूर्णिमासूत विरजं विश्वगं च परं तप देवकुल्यां हरेः पाद शौचाद्याभूत सरिद्दिवः.
पूर्णिमासूतविरजं विश्वगं च परन्तप देवकुल्यां हरे पाद शौचाद्याभूत्सरिद्दिवः
पूर्णिमासूतविरजं विश्वगं च परं तप देवकुल्यां हरे पाद शौचाद्याभूत्सरिद्दिवः.
ராஜேஷ் ஜி the second line ஹரேஹேல வந்து விசர்க்கம் இருக்கா?
இருக்கு, பட் அங்க எஃப் சவுண்ட் வந்துருது. ஹரேஃப்.
ஓகே, சரி, ஓகே.
அத்ரேஃப் பத்ன்யனசூயா. Okay, patni anasuya, but that sandhi is there. Patnyanasuya treen in, comma, jagne su yashasas sutan dattam durvasasam somam, breaking at that ma, somam, comma. Next word, atmesha brahma sambhavan. अत्रेः पत्न्यनसूयात्रीन् जज्ञे सुयशसः सुतान् दत्तं दुर्वाससं सोमम् आत्मेश ब्रह्म संभवान्.
अत्रे पत्न्यनुसूयात्रीन् जज्ञे सुयशः सुतान् दत्तं दुर्वाससं सोमम् आत्मेश ब्रह्म संभवान्.
अत्रे पत्न्यनसूयात्रीन् जज्ञे सुयशसः सुतान् दत्तं दुर्वाससं सोमाम् आत्मेश ब्रह्म संभवान्.
आत्मेश ब्रह्म संभवान्.
मेष ब्रह्म संभवान्.
विदुरौवाच अत्रेर् गृहे सुरश्रेष्ठाः, स्थित्युत्पत्यन्त हेतवः. Cannot break that word. स्थित्युत्पत्यन्त हेतवः किंचित् चिकीर्षवो जाताः. Again visarga because you're putting a comma there. जाताः एतद् आख्याहि मे गुरो. विदुरौवाच अत्रेर्गृहे सुरश्रेष्ठाः स्थित्युत्पत्यन्त हेतवः किंचित् चिकीर्षवो जाताः एतदाख्याहि मे गुरो.
विदुरौवाच अत्रेर्गृहे सुरश्रेष्ठाः स्थित्युत्पत्यन्त हेतवः किंचित् चिकीर्षवो जाता एतदाख्याहि मे गुरो.
அங்க அந்த ஜாத்தாஹ அந்த பாஸ் பண்றதுனால செகண்ட் லைன்
किंचित् चिकीर्षवो जाता
ஜாத்தாஹ
एतद् आख्याहि मे गुरो.
विदुरौवाच अत्रे गृहे सुरश्रेष्ठाः स्थित्युत्पत्यन्त हेतवः किंचित् चिकीर्षवो जाताः एतदाख्याहि मे गुरो.
मैत्रेयोवाच ब्रह्मणा Choditas. I think my book had no ditas before. So if you have a na there, just change it to cha there. So choditas srishtau, that va that you have that goes away. Srishtau, comma. Next word will start with the a. Atrir brahma vidambarah sah patnya yaya vriksham, comma. Kuladrim tapasi stitaha. मैत्रेयोवाच ब्रह्मणा चोदितः सृष्टौ अत्रिर्ब्रह्मविदाम्बरः सह पत्न्या यया वृक्षं कुलाद्रिं तपसि स्थितः.
मैत्रेयोवाच ब्रह्मणा चोदितः सृष्टौ अत्रिर्ब्रह्मविदाम्बरः सह पत्न्या यया वृक्षं कुलाद्रिं तपसि स्थितः.
मैत्रेयोवाच ब्रह्मणा चोदितः सृष्टौ अत्रि ब्रह्मविदाम्बरः सह पत्न्या यया वृक्षं कुलाद्रिं तपसि स्थितः.
Rajeshri, I have here Sah Patnya Yayau Vruksham.
No, yaya vriksham.
Yaya Vruksham. Okay.
Yeah. Tasmin prasuna sthabaka, put a plus. Palasha shoka, one word. Palasha shoka kanane. Varbhis Sravadbhir. I'm just breaking at that ru there. It will be easy. Sravadbhir udgushte, comma. Nirvindhyaya samantatah. Tasmin prasunastabaka palasha shoka kanane. Varbhis Sravadbhir udgushte. Nirvindhyaya samantatah.
तस्मिन् प्रसूनस्तबक पलाशाशोककानने वाग्भिः स्रवद्भिरुद्गुष्टे I'm sorry, I'll do it again. Tasmin prasunastabaka palashaशोककानने वाग्भिः स्रवद्भिरुद्गुष्टे निर्विन्ध्याय samantatah.
Correct, yeah. That's why I intentionally broke it that way. Otherwise, it's very hard. So it's Varbhis Sravadbhir Udgushte.
तस्मिन् प्रसूनस्तबकपलाशाशोककानने वाग्भिर्स्रद्भिर् उद्गृष्टे निर्विन्ध्याया समन्ततः.
Sudhanda, Sravadbhir
उद्गृष्टे
Udgushte.
उद्गुष्टे. Okay. स्रवद्भिर् उद्गुष्टे.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pranayamena samyamya, comma, mano varsha shatam munihi atishthadeka padena, comma, nirdvandvo nila. You have to say that together. Nirdvandvo nila bojanaha. Pranayamena samyamya mano varsha shatam munihi atishthadeka padena nirdvandvo nila bojanaha.
प्राणायामेन संयम्य मनोवर्षशतं मुनिः अतिष्ठदेकपादेन निर्द्वन्द्वोऽनिलभोजनः.
अनिलभोजनः, yeah.
प्राणायामेन संयम्य मनोवर्षशतं मुनिः अतिष्ठदेकपादेन निर्द्वन्द्वोऽनिलभोजनः.
शरणं तं प्रपद्येऽहं, य एव जगदीश्वरः प्रजाम् आत्मसमां मह्यं, प्रयच्छत्विति, one word, प्रयच्छत्विति चिन्तयन्. शरणं तं प्रपद्येऽहं य एव जगदीश्वरः प्रजाम् आत्मसमां मह्यं प्रयच्छत्विति चिन्तयन्.
शरणं तं प्रपद्येऽहं य एव जगदीश्वरः प्रजामात्मसमां मह्यं प्रयच्छत्विति चिन्तयन्.
शरणं तं प्रपद्येऽहं य एव जगदीश्वरः प्रजामात्मसमां मह्यं प्रयच्छद्विति चिन्तयन्.
We'll pause here briefly. Let me tell the things till then. So you can refer that document I sent you because it's impossible to remember all the names. And most of this is really telling that hierarchy, right? But there's some subtle context in each of that. So it initially starts, like we said, from Brahma, Swayambhuva, Manu, right? So Shatarupa are the two beings that Brahma creates, the first male and female beings that we saw. And from Swayambhuva, Manu and Shatarupa, they had 5 children. To 2 boys, right? Uttanapada, Priyavrata, and 3 girls, which were Devahuti, Akuti, and Prasuti. So 3 girls are there. Now, even though Akuti had, there were 2 brothers, Uttanapada and Priyavrata, Swayambhuva Manu had, when Akuti got married to Prajapati Ruchi, who she gets married to, Swayambhuva Manu says that the boy that you are going to get, I need that boy. You have to give it back to me. So it is something called as a Putrika Dharma that they say normally they do it if the father does not have a boy. Then what they do is if they only have girls, then they'll tell the son who's born to the girl, gives it back to the father, so the father has a son. But in this case, even though Swayambhu Manu had Uttanapada and Priyavrata, he asked for it. The reason for that was to Ruchi and Akuti are born two people. One of them is a male and a female. They have a boy and a girl. The boy's name here is called as Yajna, and the girl's name is Dakshina, right? Now, this Yajna is a partial incarnation of Mahavishnu, and Dakshina is a partial incarnation of Mahalakshmi. So why this? So because Bhagavan was going to be partially incarnating to them, that's why Swayambhu Manu asked for that Yajna for him. So which is what happens. So Yajna, if you can follow the thread there in that second bullet there. So to Akuti and Ruchi, Yajna and Dakshina are born. And Yajna, incarnation of Vishnu and this thing. So I'll ask a question to see if anybody remembers which other scenario does Vishnu and Lakshmi are born or incarnating to the same set of parents and then they get married. It has not yet come in Bhagavatam, but it came in Narayaniam. It came in Dashakam 18 of Narayaniam.
Is it Prithu and Archi?
Yes. So to Anga and Vena, from there is born Prithu and Archi. So Prithu is one of the incarnation and Archi is the incarnation, which we'll see later. So when we come to Prithu Charitram, I'll ask you if you remember this one. So, they're born as two, two of them are born, but Mahalakshmi and Narayana is incarnation, but they're born to the same parents. It doesn't matter anyways. So eventually they anyway get married there. So, right, Amuji. So anyway, so here, that's what is happening is, to them are born. Now, as it now keeps going, next, when we kind of come there, so we saw that to Swayambhu Manu, right? When every time a Manu changes, the Sapta Rishis change, and the post of Indra and Agni and all of that are taken by somebody, right? Like we said, Indra is just a title. Indra is not a person, right? So this Yajna, doing Swayambhu Manu, who is the first Manu, this Yajna takes the role of Indra. So he is the Indra at the time of Swayambhu Manu's period. And Marichi, one of the rishis, is the head of the Sapta Rishis. So that's what they said. So that again, this Yajna, by the way, in Canto 1, 3rd chapter, when we talk through all the incarnations of Bhagavan, in that it says, Yajna, you are born as Yajna. And at that time, you then become the Indra during the period of Swayambhu Manu to establish the rules of what the head of the god needs to do, right? Anyway, so all of that is happening. Now, then now it kind of starts going from stanza 9 into the various daughters of, what is actually happening, right? So we know about Devahuti, right? Devahuti gets married to Kardama. We saw that already in the 3rd canto. And then he talks about how Prasuti is going to get married to Daksha. So we'll see a little bit more of that later. Now, in terms of the Kardama and Devahuti, they had 9 daughters and 1 son. We already saw that. The first son was Kapila. Now, the 9 daughters of Devahuti, which we said in the previous canto, got married to the various rishis, right? So the rishis, so that's the combination of put. So the first daughter, whose name is Kala, gets married to Marichi. Okay, so that's first, if you remember, for I think some of these things, Narayanam really helps because Bhattaripat condenses it really well. So in the 10th chapter of Narayanam, when he's talking about the children who have come from Brahma, it says, Tasyata sargarasikasya marichir atrihi tatrangira kratumuni pulaha pulastyaha angada jayata bhriguscha vasishta dakshau srinaradascha bhagavan bhavadang. He talks about the 10 beings who are coming from Bhagavan, from Brahma, including Narada as the 10th. So those 9 rishis who he said, who are actually coming from Brahma, they are the ones who are actually marrying the 9 daughters of Devahuti and Kardama. So that is the combination I put there, right? So Kala, who's one of the daughter, is getting married to Marichi, and to Kala and Marichi are born Kashyapa. So sage Kashyapa is born to them, and Purnima is another girl who is actually born to them. Now, that Purnima, from Purnima comes one person called as a Devakulya, which is coming in the stanza 14 there, which the Devakulya is the goddess of Ganges. So it's from Devakulya that Ganges originally forms in the heavenly abode. So that is the first one. Kala is getting married to Marichi. Then the second one, which is there, is Atri is getting married to Anasuya. So to Atri and Anasuya, 3 children are born. One is Soma, Dattatreya, and Durvasa. So that is where in stanza 16, in this what we just saw, Vidura is asking a question, saying that how can the 3 partial incarnations of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva be born to Atri and Anasuya? So Maitreya then tells the story of Atri and Anasuya from stanza 17. So he says that when Atri and Anasuya got married, they were in this place, which was, that's why in that stanza 18, it says, Palasha Ashoka, because Ashoka trees, a lot of good trees. It was in a very pious place. So where Atri is actually doing severe penance, right? And he's doing severe penance in such a way that he's standing only on one leg. He's only eating or consuming air. And he stood on that one leg for 100 years. And he does a prayer. And Atri is doing a prayer saying that, oh Lord of the universe, he just says, Jagadishwara. He says, I give me a son who's exactly like you. So that is a prayer that Atri does. So when Atri is doing that prayer, it talks about how there is a fire that is actually coming from the top of his head because of his yogic powers. So Shiva and Brahma and Vishnu are saying, oh my God, this person is so, there's so much tejas which is coming out of this person. So all 3, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are approaching Atri and Anasuya there in their hermitage. So Atri then, prostrates, and then he, does a small prayer to them. And Atri says, I did a prayer to the ultimate God, Jagadishwara, and I don't know who I called, but all 3 of you have come. So he says, who was my prayer to? Which one of you is responding to my prayer? Because I wanted a son like you. So all 3 of you have come. So I don't know who is the person to whom I should ask the boon. So all 3, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, say, no, because you pleased all of us in an equal way, you are going to get a son from each of us, right? So partial incarnation. So Soma, who is the partial incarnation of Brahma, Dattatreya, who is the partial incarnation of Vishnu, and Durvasa, who is the partial incarnation of Shiva, are born to Atri and Anasuya. So that is kind of where that stops at like up to 30. That is the story of Atri and Anasuya. So that is a hierarchy thread that we are following so far. Okay, all right. So let's do one last stretch here. Sindhuji, you can be a student, and let me see who else. And Sriram, you can be a student. Tapyamanam Tribhuvanam, Tapyamanam. So this is where, Tribhuvanam. So the fire which is coming out of his head is going across all the 3 worlds. Tapyamanam Tribhuvanam, Pranaya Maidasagnina, one word. Pranaya Maidasagnina, Nirgatena Muner Murdnaha, Samiksha Prabhavastrayaha. Tapyamanam Tribhuvanam Pranayamaidasagnina Nirgatena Muner Murdnaha Samiksha Prabhavastrayaha.
Tapyamanam Tribhuvanam Pranayamaidasagnina Nirgadena Muner Murdnaha Samiksha Prabhavastrayaha.
Dabhyamanam Tribhuvanam Pranayamaidasagnina Nirgadena Munarmurdnaha Samikshya Prabhavastrayaha.
Apsaro.
Rajesh, அங்க வந்து பிராணாயாம் ஐத சாக்னினாவா இல்ல மைய ஐயாங்க?
See, if you say pranayam, then it becomes Aida Sagnina.
Aida Sagnina. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Apsaro, Muni, Gandharva, put a plus, Siddha, Vidyadharo Ragaihi. One word. So all of them are coming, Apsaras, all the Munis, Gandharvas, Siddhas, everybody is coming to visit along with Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva to see Atri and Anasuya there. Vitaya Mana Yashasaha, that is goes away, Visarga, Tadashrama Padam Yayuhu. Apsaro Muni Gandharva Siddha Vidyadharo Ragaihi Vitaya Mana Yashasaha Tadashrama Padam Yayuhu.
Apsaro Muni Gandharva Siddha Vidyadharo Ragaihi विधायमान यशसः तदाश्रमपदं ययुः
अप्सरो मुनिकन्दर्व सिद्धविद्याधरोरगैः विधायमानयासः तदाश्रमपदं ययुः
तत् प्रादुर्भाव संयोग प्लस विद्योतित मना मुनिः उत्तिष्ठन् एकपादेन standing on one feet उत्तिष्ठन् एकपादेन ददर्श विबुधर्षभान्. So I think one of the interesting thing, and I'm speculating this because it says when all of them come, he's moving in only 1 feet because he's standing with 1 feet for 100 years, right? So he's probably lost how to walk with 2 feet. So it says he's limping on that 1 feet and going, and then he does a namaskaram to them. It's even walking, he's walking on 1 feet because probably he stood for 100 years, right? So tat pradhurbhava samyoga vidyotitamana munihi उत्तिष्ठन् एकपादेन ददर्श विबुधर्षभान्.
तत्प्रादुर्भावसंयोगविद्योदितमना मुनिः उद्दिष्टन्नेकपादेन ददर्श विबुधर्षभान्.
तत्प्रादुर्भावसंयोगविद्योदितमना मुनिः उत्तिष्ठन्नेकपादेन तदर्श विबुधर्षभान्.
प्रणम्य Dandavat bhumau. So that vu that you have there, remove it. Bhumau, comma. Next word will start with the u. Upataster hananjalihi. One word. Upataster hananjalihi. Brisha hamsa suparnasthan, comma. Swais ish. First is the is. Swaish chinnaischa Chinnitan. Pranamya dandavad upataster hananjalihi brisha hamsa suparnasthan swaish chinnaischa chinnitan.
प्रणम्य दण्डवद्भूमौ उपदस्तेर्हणाञ्जलिः वृषहंस सुवर्णस्तान् स्वैश्चिह्नैश्च चिन्निदान्.
प्रणम्य दण्डवत् भूमौ उपदस्ते अर्णाञ्चलिः वृषहंस सुवर्णस्तानन् स्वैर्सिंहैश्च सिन्नितान्.
Yes, just before the comma, second line, Suparnasthan.
Suparnasthan, okay.
So swaish chinna means each of them on their respective vehicles. So Brisha, Hamsa, Suparna, each of them are on their respective vehicles. Kripavalokena hasad. Put a plus again. Vadane nopalambitan. Together. Vadane nopalambitan. Tadrochisha pratihate, comma. Nimilya munirakshini. कृपावलोकेन हसद्वदने नोपलम्भितान् तद्रोचिषा प्रतिहते निमील्य मुनिरक्षिणी.
कृपावलोकेन हसद्विनो
वदने
वदनेनोबलम्भितान् तद्रोजिषा प्रतिहते निमील्य मुनिरक्षिणी.
कृपावलोकेन हसद्वदनेनोबलम्बितान् तत्रोषिषा प्रतिहते निमील्य मुनिरक्षिणी.
अक्षिणी.
मुनिरक्षिणी. Okay.
Chetastat pravanam yunjan. It's a double na there. We're just going to break it. Yunjan, comma. Next word starts with the a. Astavit samhatanjalihi. Shlakshnaya suktaya vacha, comma. Sarva loka gariyasaha. Chetastat pravanam yunjan. Astavit samhatanjalihi. Shlakshnaya suktaya vacha. सर्वलोकगरीयसः.
छेदस्तत्प्रणवं युञ्जन् अस्तावि संहदाञ्जलिः श्लक्ष्णया सूक्तया वाजा सर्वलोकगरीयसः.
That first word, Sindhuji, pravanam.
Oh, what did I say?
It's a pranavam in this.
Oh, okay, so Chedastat pravanam.
Chetastat pravanam yugyan asta beat samhadanjalihi slakshanya suktaya vasa sarvaloka kariyasaha.
And the second line, first word, Lakshnaya.
Slakshnya.
Na is a full na. Lakshnaya.
Slakshnaya.
Yeah. And the ish and iksh are half, but the na is a full na. So Lakshnaya.
Lakshnaya. Okay.
Atriru vacha Vishvodbhava Stiti Layeshu Vibhajyamanaihi. Visarga, comma. Next line, there is a ir on top of Maya that goes away. Maya Gunairanuyugam Vigrihita Dehaha Te Brahma Vishnu Girishaf Pranatosmyaham Vaha. Is goes away. Visarga, comma. Tebhyah Ka eva bhavatama ihopa hutaha. So all of you have come. Who is the one who I'm supposed to ask for the boon here? Atriruvacha Vishvodbhavasiti layeshu vibhajyamanaihi Maya gunairanuyugam vigrihita dehaha Te Brahma Vishnu Girisha Pranatosmyaham Vaha Tebhyah Ka eva bhavatama ihopa hutaha.
Atriruvaja Vishvodbhavastidilayeshu vibhajyamanaihi Maya gunairanuyugam vigruhida dehaha Te Brahma Vishnu Girisha Pranadosmyaham Vaha Tebhyah ka evam bhavadamma iho bahudaha.
Atriruvacha Vishvodbhavastitilayeshu vibhajyamanaihi Maya gunairayukam vikrihitateha vitatehaha Te Brahma Vishnu Girisa Pranadosmyaham ha Stebhya ka eva bhavatam ma iho bahutaha.
The second line or first line, second half, Gunair Anuyugam. Maya Gunair Anuyugam.
Maya gunair anuyukam vikrihito itatehaha.
Yeah. Eko Mayeha Bhagavan Vibhudha Pradhanai. Some books have Pradhana. If you have a na, just put a nai there in case you doesn't have that. So Pradhanaihi, Visarga, comma. Next line, the ish, if you have it, that will go away. Chitti Kritaf Prajananaya Katam Nuyuyam Atragatas Tanu Bhritam Manasopi Durat, comma. Bhruta Prasidata Mahaniha Vismayome.
Is there a visarga after Dura? Rajesh?
No, Durat, no Visarga there. No.
Durat.
Yeah, Durat, no Visarga there. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have the ta.
It's a Durad, id, it has because the bha is coming later. So yeah. Eko mayeha Bhagavan vibudha pradhanaihi chitti krita prajananaya katam nuyuyam atra gatastanubhritam manasopi durat bhruta prasidata mahaniha vismayome.
Rajesh, on the first line, Vibudha, right? My book has
Vibudha.
Vibudha. So, okay, I'll change it to Bu.
I just last line Mahaniha Viswameya.
Yeah, Mahaniha, no Visarga there. Just Mahaniha Vismayome.
Ego mayeha Bhagavan Vibudha Pradhanaihi Chitti Krida Prajanana Yagadam Nuyuyam Atragadasthanubhrudam Manaso Vidurad Bhrudha Prasidada Mahaniha Vismayome.
Eko mayeha Bhagavan vibhuta pradhanaihi chittikritak prajananaya kadam nuyuyam atragadasthanubhridam anasobidurat ruda prasidata mahaniga vishmayome.
Vismayome.
Mahaniga vishmayome.
Maitreya Vacha Iti tasya vachah shrutva, trayaste vibudharshabhaha pratyahuhu. You have to say that visarga. Pratyahuhu shlakshnaya vacha, prahasya tamrishim prabho. Maitreyo vacha iti tasya vacha shrutva trayaste vibudharshabhaha pratyahuhu shlakshnaya vacha prahasya tamrishim prabho.
Maitreyo vaja idi tasya vajasrutva trayaste vibudarshabhaha pratyahuhu slashnaya vaja prahasya tamrishim prabho.
Maitreya uvacha idittasya vasasradva trayaste vibhutarshabhaha pratyahuhu slakshnaya vasa prahasya tamrishim prabho.
Deva uchuhu yatha kritaste sankalpo, bhavyam tenaiva nanyata yat sankalpasya te brahman, yadvai dhyayati te vayam. This is whatever your sankalpam was, which was whatever you wished for. He says all three of us are willing to give you that boon. All three of us are committing to do that. Deva
Rajesh,
uchuhu.
sorry, second line வந்து சத்சங்கல்பியன்னு ஒருத்தர்.
Sat sankalpasya.
Correct, அதான correct.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Deva
Rajesh, so
uchuhu. Sorry, somebody had a question.
sorry, so Atri Maharshi was praying to who?
So he didn't use a name.
Oh,
Okay, like Gajendra, like what Gajendra called for a Nirguna Brahman, he had a different word he was using. Atri Maharshi was just praying for the Jagadishwara.
okay.
So he was just doing that. So all three ended up coming in that case. I don't know why specifically all three came, but all essentially they are saying that was your sankalpam. You prayed, and all of us wanted to respond to you. Maybe it was just they were all so pleased with him that they all wanted to come. So because all of this is intended, right? Like since like
Yeah.
whatever needs to happen. So Deva uchuhu yatha kritaste sankalpo bhavyam tenaiva nanyata satsankalpasya te brahman yadvaidhyayati te vayam.
Deva ujuhu yada kridaste sankalpo bhavyam tenaiva nanyada yat sankalpasya de brahman yad vaidhyayadi te vayam.
Deva uchuhu yada kritaste sankalpo bhavyam denaiva nanyata satsankalpasya de brahman yat vaidyayati devayam.
Atasmad amsha bhutaste, atmaja loka vishrutaha bhavitaronga bhadramte, visrapsyanti. Cannot break that word. Visrapsyanti chate yashah. Atasmadamsha bhutaste atmaja loka vishrutaha bhavitaronga bhadramte visrapsyanti chate yashah.
Rajesh, just one question.
Yeah.
The 30th, the second line, the first one is Yat Sankalpasya or Sat Sankalpasya.
Sat. Sa. I have sa there.
You put
I think I said yeah, but I have sa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I might
yeah.
have missed it.
I also missed it. Yeah. It is Sat
mispronounced,
Sankalpasya. Yeah. Maybe that's where Ramesh asked the question. Okay.
अदास्मदंशभूदास्ते आत्मजालोकविसृदाः भविदारोङ्गभद्रं ते विस्रप्स्यन्ति च ते यशः.
अधास्मदं सुबुधास्ते आत्मजा लोकविसृताः बविदा रोङ्गभद्रं ते विस्रप्स्यन्ति सधेयसः.
Probably 3:30, so we'll stop here.
Rajesh, the second line, 31 la second line, is it Bhavita Ro Ing Angadane? Is it
But Anga, but then the A and the S symbol, right?
So the extra matra.
Yeah, so it goes as one word. Bhavitarung.
Bhavitarung. Okay, thank you.
Shri Hare Namaha. Shri Hare Namaha. Shri Hare Namaha. Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Kahena Vacha Manasendriye Va Buddhyatmana Va Prakrute Swabhavat karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai narayanaayeti samarpayami. So we'll continue to update the document because later on, that Uttana Pada, this entire lineage is going to come. Priyavrata, entire lineage is going to come. Daksha, one lineage is going to come with the 16, which is already, some of it is in there. Then Daksha is going to be born again to Prachetas, who's already in this thing. So Daksha is going to come again. So this tree will just becoming. I was trying to see if there's any better tree version of it online, but I couldn't find it. So, but if you find anything, let me know. That's why I started just typing it in. So.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Rajesh.
Bye.